Hello everybody, my name is Fábio Coelho. I'm coming from INESCTEC Research Institute in Porto, and particularly I come from the High Assurance Software Laboratory. We deal a lot with dependability, fault tolerance, cryptography, security, software engineering. And this is the first time that we've been in this event. I brought some first slides. Isn't this working? So technical difficulties to start. Okay, so this is just I have a couple of slides just to show a little bit of what we do on our research laboratory. As I said, we are the High Assurance Software Laboratory. We belong to INESCTEC. INESCTEC is different from the INESC in Lisbon, which is INESC ID. So we are based in Porto, in FEUP. But particularly our group is based on Minho University in Braga. And so we basically do these three types of things, of software engineering, formal methods, so ensuring that your software is supposed to do what is meant from the design, from the drawing board, distributed systems, where I belong to, so this is why I'm here today, and then also cryptography in cybersecurity, so dealing with the security part, with more the theoretical part of cryptography, but also from the most practical part, dealing with the cybersecurity. So I'm a senior researcher there, working for the distributed systems part. And before I start my presentation, I just want to bring a little bit of what we do in distributed systems and some of our flagship projects that we work on from the past until today. So we do dealing a lot with the dependability on data management, so databases, also why we are here today. This has also to do a lot with cloud computing, bringing databases to the cloud, making them elastic, making them scale according to your demands, and dealing with fault tolerance that you need with your systems in itself. Also on our history, epidemic protocols, so gossip-based protocols, peer-to-peer systems. This has led us more recently to also go a little bit with the hype of blockchain. Well, we are a research group, so we try to keep with the hypes that we have, and also connected with the dependability and data management, large-scale data processing, which is also something that I'll be talking a little bit about today. And of course, secure data processing. This is also a new branch that we've been tackling, trying to bring computations and trying to bring data dependability on top of data that might be ciphered, that might be secured on the disk, and trying to compete on top of that without compromising the security, so without unciphering data in itself. So the projects, just to mention, I actually my talk today is about polyglot data management, and my presentation will overview a little bit of our research path from the last 15 to 20 years. So basically covering all of these projects here on the bottom, so Cumulo Nimbo, Querent Pass, and Linkbean Data, but also a little bit about CloudDB Appliance, which is bringing these to cloud management systems with full memory stacks that we can process everything there. Also on the cyber cryptography and cybersecurity part, as I said, we've been working on provable security and also formal verification of cryptography parts. I hope that in one future event of this, I can bring one colleague of mine from this branch of our group to also give us a little bit a talk on this and how we can match this with the dependability and data management in itself. So, but about polyglot data management, which is the topic for today. So what are polyglot queries? Polyglot queries are queries that we want to issue to our database engine system, but we cannot assure that our database engine system will have the same source of data. So typically systems use their own storage system, their own file systems, their own schema arrangement, but there was this trend that is coming to production systems nowadays. There is the ability that I can have a query engine and I want to query data from different sources under the same schema. So I want to query my data that can be not only relational, so what is a tabular data schema, which is the most traditional, but I can also want to query I also want to make that query go to graph data in Neo4j, or object-oriented data in JSON files, and columnar fragments. So a bunch of different formats that I want to be able to query with the same query engine. So bringing here an idea of a holistic view of the query engine on top of these different data sources. And so this is just a brief example of a polyglot query that we want to come here. So the idea is that all of these systems will have, of course, their own query language, because they are aiming at that type of data. So it also gives a little bit of a hurdle for the developer and the enterprise that wants to adopt these systems to either decide and make that decision up front. So should I use MongoDB? Should I use MemSQL? Should I use Oracle? Should I use a graph-based database? Should I use relational? And often trying to move to a different model will make such a hurdle that they want to be doing it, and they want to conform to what they already have. So the idea here is just that, I have a query engine and I'm able to query different types of data sources under the standard SQL query language that almost everybody in the world considers as the first one as a database language approach. And so here I brought this example of a query where we can bring new syntax to the SQL, to the standard SQL syntax that is then connected to the particular data sources that we have here. And so what is the approach on deciphering this standard query into the query plan? The idea here is that we want to use the native querying capabilities of each one of the data sources and trying to push down as much as possible the filtering and the predicates from the query engine to the database that under this model is playing the role of the data store and trying to do as much computation there as possible. So one first way to tackle this problem would be to have different sources, but then to rely on the query engine to do the filtering, rely on the query engine to do all of this type of indexing and sorting. And the idea here, under these first projects that I was mentioning in the beginning, was to try to push down as much as the filtering and the predicates that make the splits on your query execution plan to the data stores in itself. And so the basic idea overall is that we can deploy a query engine, we can deploy drivers for the data sources that you want to use, and then you have to do a trade-off. Distributed systems, as we were just discussing during the coffee break, is about doing trade-offs. So it is virtually impossible to try to compensate for everything, and so here the trade-off is that we need our data to be loaded under this query engine in order to use this. So there's of course here immediately a problem there where we have already data deployed in different sources, and we want to use this system. There's a process where you need to conform and make the query engine learn all of these data schema in order for you to trade off and to have that advantage on the production execution of your workload. And so here the idea is that you can merge all of these data types, and you are not just bind to a particular one. So you have a much more flexibility on your querying capabilities. But the true magic on how we can do that has actually a lot to deal with the previous presentation. Not with replication in itself, but how we deal with the ACID properties that Rodrigo just mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, on how you can deal with the data assortment, with the provision of eventual consistency here, with the provision of the snapshot isolation, and how you deal with the versioning of your data. Because in the end, you are decoupling the query engine from the data store, so you don't have that bind. So you need to provide here a way that the data store is up until a point independent of the query engine in itself. And so the breakthrough here came from this Cumulonimbus project, a project that already ended some years ago, but coming up until these systems now into production. And the breakthrough here was to decouple all of the ACID properties, so the atomicity, the consistency, the isolation isolation and the durability, and making all of these scale independently of one another, but still ensuring the consistency. And the true magic on how to do this is, of course, another trade-off. And the trade-off here is that, okay, until to make this possible, you can make everything parallel, but the snapshot server. So the entity that is providing the snapshots, the commit timestamps and the start timestamps on your transactions, again coming to the transaction part on the previous presentation, under this model cannot be decoupled from the other ones. So we have a very few part of the computing capability that leverages the scalability of the system onto a central point. We can provide reliability on that, we can provide replication on that, but it's still a single entity on the system. And based on that, we can then make local transaction managers in each one of the systems go parallel. We can make the durability on the loggers go parallel, and we can make also the isolation part on the conflict managers go parallel by doing sharding. And so the main principles that guide this idea, then give us tools to provide the polyglot mechanisms, is here. The first one is almost the most important one. So the separation from the commit and the visibility of the commit data. So this goes a little bit into contrast of this primary backup idea that we've been discussing in the previous presentation, and is more connected with the asynchronicity of the system, which is something that we are expediting here a lot. And so the most important thing here is to make this decouplement. So when you start a transaction, you get this start timestamp for your transaction, and then you decouple that part that gives you the visibility for your transactions that are running under snapshot isolation under this model. So your transaction is always bound to this concept of visibility. So I can read everything up until my version, everything that is back. I have concurrent transactions will have their view depending on that start timestamp part, and then decoupling the commit part. So the key thing here is to, once you have that start timestamp on your transaction, you can do your own things. You can provide your operations under your write set, and then when you want to commit, you can rely on your local conflict manager. Provided that you just need that you acquire your hypothetical commit timestamp in the future from your snapshot server. So to easily understand this has a lot also to do with this idea that Rodrigo was talking about when you want to flush data onto the disk, that you are accounting some blank spaces to write your data, but you don't necessarily need or know if you're going to need it. And so here the idea is the same. You have your commit sequencer providing you batches of candidates timestamps that is then dynamic with the system, so you can have it set to provide you hundreds of commit timestamps for that instance, millions, thousands, and then each one of the commit sequencers can deal with that. And this is the key thing here to make the system go parallel and to provide here the concurrency, keeping in mind that transactions won't be conflicting from the commit timestamp part. And then with this basis, you can scale all your commit sequencers, because you know that each one of them will have their commit timestamp space. Here you don't have that problem of losing disk space. You're only providing ahead of time logical timestamps for that commit sequencer to work on. But of course, conflicts may occur, and when conflicts occur, you need to roll back your database. So that is also another trade-off of the solution in itself. And so the idea here is to make the query engine very scalable and decouple all of these components so that you can then bind each one of your query engine instances to your local data store, be it a graph database, be it a tabular database, be it just an object store that you want to use here. And so the idea here is that the timestamps, as in snapshot isolation, the longer timestamps will last and will win when giving up here the battle for concurrency control with the transactions in itself. So coming from the idea to the system in itself. Again, this is the outcome of a project that already ended some time ago. At that time, for demo purposes and development, we were using at that time Apache HBase as the data store. So in this case, we were not actually expediting the polyglot capabilities of the system. We were just thinking, well, can we make this query engine that we have now decoupled based on the ACID properties and the decoupled of all of them besides the snapshot part, and deal here with a data store that is also distributed and highly scalable to a point? Well, yes, we could do that. Of course, HBase had its problems. It still has its problems, and one of the major problems that it has is compaction time. So HBase tries to do everything as much as possible in memory, of course, but when you deal with this type of distributed setups, which on our case always tried to aim at commodity type service, so memory can be of hundreds of gigs, but under this type of model, we didn't scale it to systems with terabytes of RAM. So memory is always limited under these smaller systems, and we want to scale then the system horizontally. So instead of having big nodes, we can have multiple nodes of lower capacity and trying to expedite the parallelism that we can have with this decoupled thing. Of course, with HBase, we face that problem. Very high compaction periods, very demanding on garbage collecting the system, and so under this deployment we faced a lot of stall during the garbage collection part. The beauty part here is that, well, in this case we were using HBase, we are connecting with the polyglot capabilities using in HBase coprocessors for doing the processing and doing the filtering as close as possible to data. But HBase doesn't fit, we can just swap it for anything else. And right now we are using a data store which is being developed under the group. It doesn't have a name, so it is just a prototype, it is not a product. But the fact that bringing this type of data store from HBase, in this case is Java based and it runs totally on user space, to a different one that on our setup is built on C++ and C and uses a little bit of kernel space to do the magic, can boost a lot of the performance bottlenecks that HBase had. And so the idea here with the polyglot capability is, on one hand, the ability for us to use different models to query our data, but then also, on the second hand, the pluggability that our query engine has to swap the data stores at a very low impact on the system in itself. And so, the idea behind bringing this scalable query engine and bringing the polyglot capabilities with different stores is that we want to, as I said, push as much as possible the filters and the indexing and relying on the capabilities of the data store in itself and make it pluggable. So what we want to do in this simple example is to, here on these joins, to try to push what are the binding attributes to being computed on the data stores in itself, and try to have something similar to a prepared statement on the database. So something like a view, something that you can compute on that node, and that you can then push as less data as possible that you require to the query engine in itself to compute then the rest of the query. And of course, this provides you with a very flexible model. You can choose, you can trade the data store, you can adjust your model, and then you can then fine-tune, if you want, particular operations such as joins to that particular store in itself. So it gives you this very pluggable concept that you can have here and deploying different types of instances on top of this. But then we want to go parallel with the system. And you can have the query engine parallelizing your operations based on the fact that we consider the workload being able to be sharded and to be splitted. So creating a little bit this concept that we've been also discussing in the previous presentation of having different groups of primary and backup servers where data resides and where data is targeted to when executing the query. Of course, again, what is the trade-off? When you have conflicts, you need to deal with that. So you must admit a rollback under this system. So that is the trade-off here. And under this thing here, you can do all of these optimizations then based on a distribution in itself of the data store. So the data store is also distributed. So you have these two levels of horizontal scalability on the query engine nodes in itself, but also on the distributed nodes of the data store that you are considering. You can tell me, well, can we use a centralized data store? You can, but you lose all of the distributed capabilities and reliability. But if you want, you can. And so the main idea here is to go with this type of distributed data stores that already exist. So pluggability is the word that we want to provide here with this thing. Then, when you have distributed queries, or when you have queries that, for example, OLAP queries that are analytical and need to touch more than one instance at the same time, because here data might be distributed but not necessarily replicated. That is a different thing. We use replication mostly to assuring the fault tolerance and high availability of the system. But under a scenario, you can consider that the system is not replicated. Possibly, it is a possibility, and under that case, under that scenario, you need then to distribute what is the local data partitions and local data result sets that you have on your query execution. And here comes these last projects that we've been facing, dealing with two things. First, which is this ability now that servers and data centers have to have massive amounts of data, so we can do as much as the process in memory, as MemSQL is I guess that you do, but also relying again on something that modern data centers have, which is high bandwidth network interconnects. Things like InfiniBand, things that like Mellanox is providing you with network interconnects that can go up to 40 gigabits per second. And so here you can adjust the flexibility of our query engine to either be relying on a standard 10 gigabit interface under your data center, which is pretty standard today, or if you really, and then changing the partial result sets in the query engine to do your computation, or if you have the availability to have all of these new Mellanox type of network interconnects that provide you these large capabilities and large bandwidth, you can adjust the query engine to try to interact with the partial result sets directly from memory to memory, from node to node. And you can avoid bypassing, which is the regular I/O buzz that you have on your server. And so this is something that brought us from 15 years ago for this first approach in the beginning, where you have to go everything through the network and you need to rely on a single data store to go distributed and then to go in memory and using this memory to memory capability on your processing capabilities on your queries. And this is particularly important for the OLAP part. This query engine was in the beginning targeted at OLTP workloads, but with time we have been moving it to make it hybrid. And so we've been also moving today to compute analytical queries in soft real time on top of your transactional activity, but not relying directly on the memory, as I guess MemSQL does, but by relying on data fragments on the columnar space. So having actually two different types of storage, and hence the polyglottism capability of the query engine, to either store the transactional activity and then to build on what is the analytical activity that you need. But providing here a very flexible capability, which is the granularity. Usually these systems that have these two different types of stores, one for transactional, the other one for analytical, will then consider row or column-based data storage on the disks to provide the capabilities that each half of the system needs. Here we are lowering the granularity from column base to which is the slice in itself. So portions of the columns in itself much lower that you can easily transverse from memory to memory, ideally with the Mellanox interconnect that provides you this high availability, this high bandwidth thing, and suppresses the latency times a lot. Just to highlight, these scalability results were made with EPCC. These results are some old now. They are not the most current results that we have. They are probably 2 years old, and this was only focusing, of course, on top of the OLTP activity on the workload, and we could here reach thousands of clients and thousands of warehouses, hundreds of warehouses here, and scaling to a lot of nodes, which is the focus of our system. So instead of having a larger legacy type system deployed on a group of what happens. So now it's back. That relies, so as I was saying, the goal here is to deploy this query engine which is capable to horizontally scale. So that is our key thing here. Lots of nodes, smaller nodes, commodity nodes, instead of larger larger servers with high capability. So there are these two different trends. And the client can choose what they want. Can I want to store on premises my large server? Do I want to deploy it on the cloud? Do I want to have smaller commodity type servers and scale as I need on that basis? So our work is mostly based on that second part. And so far this stack covers a little bit of our work in the past 20 years. So coming from the store and access part, with a lot of knowledge on the age-based part, on MongoDB, on graph-based databases, working a lot on the polyglot part and on the transactional scheduling of the systems. These projects that I was telling you about, Cumulonimbing, QueryPass, was mostly targeting all of that part, but moving a little bit up the stack, as I said, we moved from transactional to analytical to hybrid. And now we want to even improve the stack, and these are the things that we are currently working. So my presentation, I didn't come to present some kind of a project. I came to present some of the work that we are developing, that we are including on some of our partners as a trial technology in the system. And so I decided to highlight here 3 different topics. So the first one on the left, so a very topic that is very dear to Rodrigo, to his presentation, which is replication. So we're working on new replication systems based on semi-active protocols, so not passive but semi-active, that can then use these new logging capabilities and the reliability associated with these new logging systems to provide here the ability to replicate, to account for disaster, and to account for high availability within data centers and across data centers with different configurations of the same system as a whole. I initially wanted to bring that topic here, but it is not published. We are a research center, so it may become on the next presentation in the future, hopefully. Then a second point, which is in the in-memory processing capabilities, which we are leveraging under this Project CloudDB appliance with one large vendor of database that wants to provide this type of solutions, and bringing it to Atos Bull data centers. So data centers with Skylake processors, so brand new processors, and a data center which has more than 32 terabytes of RAM to scale the processing of this type of query engine and making fully deployed with a memory arrays on top of that, and only have disk-based storage to provide your durability with time, so your stashed logging systems. And also a third trend, which is something that is very coming up until these systems and is touching database systems, which is the provision of some kind of self-tuning and artificial intelligence capability to the system. And this may come in the very different flavors. So in the flavor of the query optimizer, optimizing your queries based on what the query engine learns with the workload with time, optimizing the system as a whole, so tuning the knobs of your system. Database systems have hundreds and thousands of configuration knobs that you can adjust, targeting connections, targeting the server, targeting the workload. So we want to provide this ability to auto-tune the system here. And then to bring these under this integrated under this integrated platform. And so to close my presentation, I want to leave you here with some topics that I'm advising with some master students. Just touch these topics that we've been discussing today. So bringing RDMA, so remote direct memory access with the Mellanox interconnects to provide this memory-to-memory access within the clusters. This ability to self-tune the database system here using reinforcement learning capabilities and also deep reinforcement learning, something that is trendy right now. Performing machine learning based query optimization, so targeting here the query optimizer of the query engine to make it learn with the workload and making it tackling and adjusting the knobs. And to finish, this high availability architecture for cloud-based database management systems. So to deal with disaster recovery based on these new replication algorithms that we are currently developing, and on the phase of publishing, prototyping in a beta version, to account for the inter-data center capabilities of replication, here with the semi-active concept, and then across data centers with semi-passive option to deal with the latest environment. So this was my presentation. Thank you. If you have any questions, please just make them.